Hi, I'm Bruce Madden and welcome to FinTech Lab. Throughout the program we'll be showcasing some new and interesting emerging technologies. Advice professionals will test and run those technologies through their paces and give you, the audience, some practical advice about how that would integrate into their advice practices and the benefits for the clients, for the advisors and for the employees and other people that are involved in making professional advice a much better proposition. In this episode we will introduce Sweetbox, a virtual 24/7 meeting room. So joining us to introduce Sweetbox is its Australian country head, Ian Dunbar. Ian, welcome to the FinTech Lab.
Thanks very much, Bruce.
You're welcome. So tell us about Sweetbox.
Bruce, as you described in the introduction there, Sweetbox is the 24/7 virtual meeting room. What Sweetbox has been specifically designed to do is to allow anybody that's the user of Sweetbox to conduct a meeting virtually through a video meeting, but not just that, to be able to share anything that might be on the screen of one of the participants, and that's all designed to enable the whole components of a meeting to be completed and ultimately conclude your business, sign off the result and move on.
So is it tailor-built for financial advice?
Look, I think Sweetbox has got generic capability, but we're very much focused in as an organisation on financial advice. And that's been driven a lot by a lot of the pressures that are in the financial advice industry at the moment. You know, declining margins, the pursuit of efficiencies, the ability to grow business. It's not always possible to have meetings that are always in person, either at your premises or at a client or client's office, or maybe at their home. There's a lot of time that's spent around that, and often we just want to be able to do things quickly, and we'd be happy to be able to do those, in a virtual video-based environment, but ultimately still gets the job done.
Okay, well that's great. Thank you for the introduction. I'm sure the panel will have a few opening questions, and let's go to them now and see what they've got to say.
Fantastic, thanks Bruce.
How is Sweetbox different to, I suppose, the other major video conferencing guys that are doing things at the moment?
What Sweetbox is much more targeted at is being part of your advice process, so that yes, you're having a video meeting, but you're also introducing the relevant documents, you're saving them back to your planning software or your CRM, you're really importantly getting the documents signed. So your Skypes and GoToMeetings and Zooms don't enable you to finish that part of the process. When we talk about it as the virtual meeting room, it's actually, that is kind of the mindset of the product, is the things that you would do in a meeting room are the things that you need to be able to finish while you're on this virtual call. You don't want to necessarily be on a video meeting and then go, but separately I'm going to print off a document or email a document and get it signed, and you're sort of breaking the process. So Sweetbox is all about finishing off that process in one place.
What about if you need a JP or another person to sign a document that hasn't actually been in the meeting?
Firstly, you could invite a third party into the meeting. So obviously that requires some action in advance to know that you're going to need that third party to come into the meeting. But that's possible. So you could be having a meeting with your client. You say, look, we actually need the JP or the witness of the process into the meeting. They're invited into the meeting. They're there as a participant. They can also review and sign off. You could have the 3 signatures on a document. So that would be the kind of the cleanest way of using Sweetbox. But separately, you could still be having a meeting with your client, and you could then say, look, we're going to download the document with the signatures, and it still goes to the JP to ultimately be signed off. So you've got some automated virtual ways plus some traditional ways that you could mesh together as well.
From a verification perspective, does the technology track IP addresses, or how does it actually record who you're actually speaking with when you're doing these meetings?
Yeah, so it does a few things. So firstly, the invitation that goes out to the participant is linked to their email address. So that has to have been set up. If me, Ian Dunbar, is the participant in that meeting, that's come to me, Ian Dunbar. And there's something that we call the deep link, which is establishing effectively that authentication between Sweetbox and the participant's device. Okay. The second component of it is it tracks IP addresses, so you know exactly what IP address, where was it, what time the meetings were being held. So all of that is, you know, audit log material that we can pull up and provide if there was ever a dispute. But the third part, which is in many ways the kind of fundamental part, is when the actual electronic signing is occurring, that part of the meeting will always be recorded, so that you can go back and you've actually got the visuals of the person and the conversation saying, we are now signing this document. So, you know, ultimately the real line of defence is, was that your face signing this, or was that, you know, someone else's face signing this?
During the setup process with the dealer group, there's a number of proprietary documents that you can upload and have that standardised. What if you're in the meeting itself in an ad hoc situation? Can you bring up just any website you like a share price or whatever, client portfolio and whatnot?
Yeah, absolutely. So once you're in the meeting, whether or not you're the host or the participant, but if I think about it as the host for a second, you can effectively bring in any PDF document. So that can be off your drive, off your directory, and depending on our setup, could come straight out of the planning software or CRM. You can screen share or introduce anything. So that could be Excel, Word, PowerPoint, a website, whatever. And then as part of that, you can bring in any website that you want.
So how do you get the clients to log into it? Do you email them a login beforehand, or how does it work?
So what will happen is you'd set up the meeting with the client, and what that will do is that'll generate a email out to the client, and that email will include a meeting invite. So that'll go into Outlook or Google Calendar or Apple Calendar or whatever they use. And inside that link we'll also have the instructions on how to join the meeting. So if it's a browser, you just hit the link and it'll open up the meeting in the browser.
How much does something like this cost, and is it an annual fee, or
Yep,
do you
no,
pay,
great question.
you know, as you use it, or?
Yeah, great question. It's $2 million. No, I'm kidding. $49 a month. So it's like a software as a service type model. So $49 a month for a license. A license would typically be with an advisor. And then you can have as many underlying clients using it as you want. So you could have 200 rooms, if you think of it as that.
Can support staff access?
Yes, yes. You don't need another license for support staff. They would just access your license and
download the forms that have been signed, or
set up the meetings, all that sort of stuff.
What about setup and training? Do you have, a help desk?
We do. We do. So we've got a help desk in Australia, help desk in New Zealand, an online help desk. So you can ask questions online and someone will answer those for you. And you can search anyone else's questions as well, so that if, historically people have asked those questions, you can see the answers. And we have a set of training videos that we're creating. So we've got some already, we're doing more. But we'll also do, Sweetbox training sessions.
Ian, are advisors using Sweetbox already, and if so, what do they like about it?
So yes, advisors are using Sweetbox.
Is it an efficiency gain? Is it time back? How does it work for them?
Really, it's probably coming up in three main places that I hear over and over again. One is advisors who have got geographically remote clients and you need to be able to get something done with them and they're just not in your location. So that's one. The second one is absolutely the efficiency question. And the third one is the compliance question.
Well, Ian, that's great, comprehensive, certainly an interesting technology, and looks like there's plenty of upside and lots of interest. Thank you so much for coming today and taking the questions from the panel. We really appreciate it.
No problem.
Terrific.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
So there you have the Sweetbox offer pitched to our expert panel of advice professionals. In our next program, they will assess the applicability of that particular financial technology and how that might integrate into their financial planning practices. Thank you for joining us.